my team this last August, and coming out to them, they rallied around me, they supported me, and I knew in that moment that this can happen anywhere. If my team can support me, any team can support me, and just the love and support they gave me this past season just show. And we got a 12-2 record, and so we had success.
Yep, they had success indeed. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us right now is Grace Marie Turner, president of the Galen Institute, and Newsmax contributor Hank Sheinkopf. Welcome to both of you. Glad you're aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, let's start with this briefly. Hank, your take on this? I mean, I'm sure, like Jared and I were discussing, you know, of course there have been gay players, so we just haven't known about it. But do you think this presents a problem for him going forward and for any team that would take him?
Only if he goes to play in Russia. It's great to be in the United States where all matters of life and all behaviors are acceptable. And here's a terrific athlete who's going to be, you know, just doing what he does best, being a great athlete, and he happens to be gay. Okay, so what? Next.
Grace, you know, again, coming out right before the draft, and I think Jared read probably an accurate assessment as he described that his ranking went from, or predicted ranking from being selected 90th or so down to 120th. I just think that there are some teams out there that might say, you know, do we need the microscope on us constantly from day one of training camp?
I think that's, you know, the market's going to determine that, whether or not some teams do feel that maybe that's just not something that they want to take on right now, and that they really want to focus on football, which is what they should be focusing on. And the fans, no doubt, will have a say in this as well. So I'm following it closely.
All right, we all are. And let us move on to Eric Holder, who over the weekend had this to say, cut 49.
In this great country, we move faster, we reach farther, and we climb higher whenever we stand together as one. That's why this administration, this Department of Justice, and this Attorney General will never stop fighting to ensure equal protection.
And what he's talking about was that today he would issue a directive to treat same-sex married couples all over the country. That means in every state, the same as heterosexual couples when it comes to court proceedings, bankruptcy, testifying against one another, visitation rights in prison, etc. Grace, a lot of people saying that this is just another example of the Obama administration just doing what they want.
You know, it's really astonishing to me that they think about equal rights and equal protection according to what they believe, not what others who may have different views believe. And, you know, the fact that they basically said they're not going to enforce the Defense of Marriage Act, that they're not going to enforce religious liberty protections. The president, a similar instance when the president at the National Prayer Breakfast last week said that this administration is going to fight to protect religious liberty around the world. Well, how about starting at home with the Obamacare mandate for contraception, abortifacient, sterilization on religious organizations and employers with religious beliefs for whom that's a violation. So they're very selective about what they believe is equal protection and equal rights, which is not really the definition from the Constitution.
Yeah, Hank, we talked about that prayer breakfast last week. I thought that was very hypocritical. But what about specifically what Eric Holder announced on Saturday?
His problem is going to be in the states and enforcing that, and it's hard to make that kind of federal mandate work. Should there be some equal protection under law? Yeah, the Constitution says so. As he defines it, well, the Catholic Church and Catholics around the country certainly were rightfully angry just a little bit ago when they won a battle against Obamacare, forcing them to provide certain kinds of treatment that violated their religion. And the other factor is for clergymen, should they be forced and should they be required to perform marriages of same-sex couples? That's a serious problem. I don't think the federal government can force them to do that, and I don't think the states will allow it.
And what's also important, the Obamacare battles are not over yet. They've won in some district courts, but I think this is actually going to wind up going to the Supreme Court. That's not over. The Little Sisters of Charity in California, the Little Sisters of the Poor in Colorado actually won a lawsuit, but there are many others that are still out there. That's not finished yet.
Yeah, and of course, you know, standing there talking about how freedom of religion in this country is national national security issue. At the same time, you're being sued by, among many others, a group of the Sisters of the Poor. Again, the irony cannot be lost. Of course, it was lost on the mainstream media. Very briefly, the Obama administration, actually Barack Obama, his first action on immigration since he said he would use his pen, he's decided to ease the rules for people seeking asylum and others who want to come to the U.S. or stay here, who have given limited support to terrorists or terrorist groups. Hank, I mean, it's like a nightmare.
We need a psychiatrist to go to the White House right away and ask if the Russians would let Chechens who've been involved in limited terrorism into their country, and round around Moscow for a day. Kind of crazy.
Grace, I mean, I can't think of any rhyme or reason for this.
It really leaves you speechless. And at some point, it's not clear to me when you break the camel's back, but at some point, there's going to be some straw that is just going to be too much for the American people. As tolerant as they are, as inclusive as the American people are, at some point they say, you've got to follow the law, Mr. President. That
would be a good idea. Grace Marie Turner, president of the Galen Institute, and Newsmax contributor Hank Sheinkopf, who's going to stick around for a while. Good talking to both of you. When we come back, Maggie Gallagher, syndicated columnist, senior fellow at the American Principles Project. Also, she was the founder of National Organization of Marriage, will join us right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.